Good morning, Elizabeth Moore here, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about what exercises you should avoid if you have diastasis recti. So, a lot of times postpartum, we think that we're going to need to just do crunches all day long, every day, to get that flat belly back and to get some muscle tone back. But actually, exercises like crunches, planks, sit-ups, things we've been trained to do to get the flat belly again are actually going to make the diastasis worse if you have diastasis recti. So if you don't know that you have diastasis recti and you're doing this and you're noticing that nothing is getting better, nothing's getting flatter, this could be the case and something to look further into. So the reason why certain exercises are not good to do and you should avoid them when you have diastasis recti is because they can increase the intra-abdominal pressure. Now, if you remember, the intra-abdominal pressure is what causes the diastasis in the first place. So any exercise that increases that intra-abdominal pressure is going to put stress on those healing structures and it's not going to close. It's going to actually make things worse instead of better. So those crunches that you are doing over and over and over, if you have that separation, is not going to help you to get that flat belly again. And I'm living proof of this. This is what I did. I didn't follow my own advice because I knew, being a physical therapist, I knew what I should be doing and shouldn't be doing. But I thought I was exempt from that, like healthcare workers tend to do. We tell people what to do, but we don't necessarily have to do it ourselves. Well, I learned this firsthand. I made my diastasis worse, so I wanted to get the word out about what to avoid if you have diastasis recti. So, a good litmus test, basic test for you to decide if you should be doing an exercise or not is, does your belly pooch when you are doing that exercise? So if it pooches out like in a cone shape or in like a rounded off mound, kind of like a loaf of bread, that means that your core isn't strong enough to withstand that abdominal pressure and you shouldn't be doing that exercise. I mean, really, that's the basis of this. I'm going to give you some specifics of what not to do and why, but really, that's the overall thing. If your muscles aren't strong enough, what happens is your organs settling down. So that pooching that you're seeing, that coning that you're seeing, that's your organs. The intra-abdominal pressure pushes them down on our pelvic floor, which is weakened because of the separation, and then against and out against that thin band of connective tissue that's already stretched and has stress on it. And sometimes, if it's a really big separation, those organs will even push through the gap as well. So that is not good. That's not something that we want to have. So here are some specifics that you want to avoid. Crunches, sit-ups, V-ups, straight leg raises. Anything like that folding motion is increasing that intra-abdominal pressure. You're reducing the volume that your organs have in the first place, and you're increasing that pressure. So you'll notice when you do a sit-up or a crunch and you have a diastasis recti, that belly pooches up and out, and that's not what we want. Those are your organs poking through, which is not a good thing. The second thing we want to avoid is anything in a front-loaded posture. So what that means is anything where you're on your hands and your belly is facing towards the ground. So things like push-ups and planks. These require a lot of coordination of your core to keep everything in place and where it's supposed to be. So that's why it's important to avoid those if you have a diastasis recti when you're in those initial healing stages. And if you have a diastasis recti and you do a plank or a push-up, you're going to feel like your belly, your contents of your abdomen is falling out the front. If you've tried this before and you've felt that, you'll know exactly what I mean. And then the last thing to avoid is anything that does twisting or stretches the abdominals. So things like oblique exercises do a lot of twisting. Anything where you're laying backwards over an exercise ball, because that's stretching the abdominals, and anything that's directly meant to stretch the abdominals, like the cobra pose or up dog, things like that. And why you want to avoid those is because you are directly stretching and straining that midline, which we want to protect and allow to close and heal. So those are kind of three main categories of exercises to avoid. Now that's not to say that those are bad exercises and that you'll never do them again. The thing to remember is that you just want to be protecting that midline while it's closing and while it's healing. And so any exercises that are increasing that intra-abdominal pressure, anything where you see that bulging or coning, means that those abdominals are not strong enough yet to withstand that pressure. So you need to go back, work on the basics first, work on that transverse abdominis contraction and the pelvic floor, which I did a video about earlier this week if you want to go check that out, and build from there. Because otherwise, if you're doing things too early, you're actually going to be doing more harm than good. So I hope these tips helped. I will be back tomorrow with some frequently asked questions about diastasis recti. So if you have any for me, be sure to drop them below and I'll address them tomorrow. Thank you.